Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan Nair, and here basically we are discussing about the 205th number formula part. And in this basically, in last basically we are basically discussing about the solar system. Basically, solar system means one basically person asked that why basically solar system basically came into picture. This power supply company basically are not doing their duty. Then few people told that basically it's uh, data basically, and power company is also having the data, and solar system is also having the data. Few people says that subscription plan basically groups are doing some adjustment. Groups basically are doing some adjustment. Then few people says that the power company basically has segregated that data according to the caste wise. For example, Nair caste, Iyer caste, Sharma caste, Patel caste. Like this, basically they have segregated the data. Few people says that the data is segregated according to the states. Few people says that it's according to the cities. So there are lots of possibilities, right? Because the World Bank is telling that we have designed around 3 to 4 lakh subscription plans. So there it's so like this basically. Then basically the question is raising that why basically the solar system came into the picture. There might be some reason, right? Because in this world basically, if grass is also created, that is also basically created for certain purpose. For certain purpose the grass is also created. Then this is the solar system, that also more than 8 lakh crore amount has been spent across the world, and more basically more the investment basically is done in India. So few people says that without any reason basically in our plan nothing is created. Nothing is basically created. Then basically why the solar system created? Then one basically answer, one of the person basically of the Bollywood, he know each and everything basically. He basically given one answer. He told that there are many possibilities of solar system basically which has created. One of the possibilities answer basically he has given was, the answer was like this. The answer is like this. What is the answer? Subscription plan basically groups basically they sends the data to Earth planet. Sorry, no, to each and every cities, right? To each and every cities. Their data basically sends to each and every cities. So that basically solar system basically there is no like sun and moon, that basically everybody knows. That is just a light effect. So which light basically the power data basically which this solar system basically takes. That basically is the question. Because directly universe basically can't send the data. Universe basically sends the data, but they don't have the time, right? They have given each and every control to the nuclear power companies, subscription plan groups, World Bank groups. They have given entire control to this all group basically. But final control basically these groups, that is basically the satellite groups only have. They don't give any activation to the Earth planet. That is 100% sure. If any activation happens, for example, any rain is happening, then without satellite confirmation, rain doesn't fall. If any sun is raising in any of the city, that is also confirmed by the satellite groups only. Sun means it's a light effect, right? So without any permission of the satellite groups, nothing happens in this Earth planet. This always has to be keep in mind. Whatever basically, if any small city is having certain level of rains, without satellite permission this will not get activated. For example, few people says that this many rain basically is going to fall. That is basically forecast, right? But that's just a forecast basically. But it's not possibility that this is going to fall. Few people say certain rain is not going to fall, but suddenly basically rain gets fall. So activation is there. So activation of the control system. So subscription plan basically here is assume that they are taking few datas. They are basically taking few datas which the power supply company is going to send to each and every house, which basically they are going to send to each and every house. So before basically they send the data, the solar system basically gets that data. Solar system basically gets that data, and then basically the whatever data which was going to send, that basically gets implemented in the solar system basically, in the solar system basically. So this basically is one of the possibility basically. So whatever basically the power supply company basically is going to supply the data to the home, each and every house. Before that, basically the sun solar system basically gets that data, and that basically happens. For example, few people says that due to this power supply, basically lots of things has happened. So this was basically the complaint done by one of the group. So each and every complaint basically solution happens. So this was the solution. That is basically the sun solar system basically. So this is one of the possibilities, right? This is one of the possibilities. Like this, basically, there are more than 3 to 4 lakh subscription plan in solar system. Basically, also there are basically more than, might be more than 1 lakh. Basically, the data is basically the solar system might be collecting, because it's cost basically more than 1 lakh rupees. It cost more than 1 lakh rupees. मतलब means minimum 1 lakh rupees basically. कम से कम 1 लाख, कम से कम 1 लाख रुपए. So you can just imagine the cost also. So this is basically the solar system. This is basically one of the. It only takes the data. That is basically 100% sure, right? It takes the data. It's attracting the data. That's all. In this, basically, the human body is going to harm. In this attraction, basically, human body is going to harm. It might get harm basically, but that is basically the long term effect basically. But 100% something is going to harm, that is basically 100% sure in future basically, because it might be the radiation, it might be the radiation, but there, if disease is there, then basically the medicine also there. So if the radiation is there, then basically the radiation reverse effect is also 100% there. So if solar system basically says that the radiation is 100% going to happen, then they basically that group might be ready for that radiation effect, radiation reversal effect also, because the investment is basically more than 8 lakh crore, right? Investment is more than 8 lakh crore. So it's not a small amount, right? That also basically the set of businessmen group basically has invested the amount. So it's not a small amount. So reversal basically of the radiation basically also might be there. So mostly might be created also, right? Mostly might be created also. That does not basically going to harm any human bodies. If basically harm will happen, then basically the government is going to take the action, right? If basically any harms happens, then government will take the action. This is also like 6 people died. This is also like 6 people died. Abu Dhabi has not taken the action. Italy has not taken the action. German basically not taken the action. US Department Health Department has not taken the action. At last, basically, the Bangalore city, basically, that was India, also has not taken the action. Why? Because they don't want any problems, basically, in their life. They don't want to create any problem. Big sorry, the if the blood cells is not getting tracked by this computer system, that means it's by default basically big problem, right? Because in this world, basically, for example, there are 20 lakh city created. That entire 20 lakh city basically is mapped inside the blood cells software, and that's a universal software, right, across the world. So world mapping is also there inside the software. For example, India is chained with UAE, UAE is chained with Germany. Like this, basically, the each and every chain system is already defined, and the base chain system is. 59 languages. And on the base of 59 languages, the world is created. That is basically the 215 countries. So it's basically few people says that it's very easy and few people says that it's very dangerous. So that's depend upon the knowledge basically up to what level the knowledge basically have. Because few people says that we exactly know the chaining system. We exactly know the chaining system which is going to happen. Few groups says that um, we know the chaining system. Few people says that it's very difficult. So like this basically depends upon the human basically knowledge basically you can say. So like these things are also there basically there. So like this subscription plan industry basically you can say it's basically created as an industry, right? Subscription plan industry basically says that we have created 3 to 4 lakh subscription plan for India. Then basically the investment also basically you can just imagine. For example, we have already taken that 15,000 city basically specially used, sorry, created to just have the rainfall in India country. That might be any of the city basically. That is not fixed basically which city basically is going to fall how many rains. But they have created 15,000 cities. That is 100% sure. That is basically the 100% sure. Few people says that India is one country and that country basically is connected with the land size. For example, India land basically is connected with 2 lakh kilometer, 2 lakh kilometers basically. 2 lakh, uh, just taking as an example basically, it's basically a rough number basically, 2 lakh kilometer. So 2 lakh kilometer basically, if one person basically asked that in rainy season basically why the earthquake doesn't happen. This basically was the dangerous question basically, which was asked by the one of the Bollywood person basically. Then basically he told that basically it's connected with the tectonic plates, right? Then why the basically the earthquake is not happening in the rainy season? It should happen, right? Because it's connected with the tectonic plates, the entire land is connected with the water. Then basically it should happen, right? Earthquake should happen. Then basically the answer was that the subscription plan data basically which is sent by the World Bank basically. That data is like that the that basically is chained with the land basically. That is basically chained with the land basically. So the question basically was, so water is so many powerful. The water is powerful, or basically it's some magnetic effect basically of the subscription plan basically. Because subscription plan data basically is near the each and every buildings on the base of the subscription plan basically data. The buildings are standing at the straight position, at the stable position. At the stable position, the land is basically sorry, the buildings are basically standing on land basically. So land is also basically standing only on the base of subscription plan data. That basically is a universe level subscription plan basically. That basically we are not discussing. That is also there basically that we will also discuss what actually the subscription plan is of specially created for the Earth planet and how basically the Earth planet is standing stable without moving left side, without moving right side. How basically it's standing, that is basically also there. So that basically we will discuss later on basically. Here basically just we are discussing about the World Bank subscription plan basically. The World Bank basically says that we have created, the government basically has given the 20 lakh building for the Vadodara city, and that basically we have 20 lakh buildings. So just send the 20 lakh buildings matrix data, right? We don't basically want more data. If you are paying the money, then sorry, if you are telling that we can pay them more money basically, then basically we can send the data. So just to see basically each and every building basically to just to stand in the straight position, up to what level the government have to pay the expense. Government basically have to pay the expense. So how much expense are basically there for each and every city basically. That basically the question basically one of the person also asked, because subscription plan says that to stand to 15 lakh build sorry 15 there are basically assume that 20 lakh buildings are there in Vadodara city. 15 to 20 lakh basically, not basically just taking as an example. Basically. Assume that this many buildings are there. So to set the building entire buildings into stable position, they basically have to send the data up to that level only basically. So each building basically contains this many cost. Each many building basically this many cost basically it contains. So basically chartered accountant industry basically of the government basically they might be 100% having the each and every calculation basically that group basically 100% might be having, right? That's why basically they are not basically here to do the charity verity, right? But it's a government basically. So government is taking at a reasonable price only. But you have to pay the money, right? If the building basically is standing in the straight position, that means you are paying the money. That's why basically the building is standing. You are paying some tax amount, you are paying some certain level of amount, you are doing some expenses. So lots of things basically are there. Basically. So it's a subscription plan groups basically who says that we are basically doing the our job basically. So here basically the question basically previously we were connected. Previously we basically saw that the one of the computer basically the IBM computer, the Microsoft computer, sorry the laptops, computer are also there basically. So like this each and every computer basically you just do the on when you are doing the on of the computer. That time basically which type of power supply basically it get passed to the computer. For example, Microsoft computer is getting on, then which type of power supply basically it gets passed that the computer gets on. So Microsoft basically says that we basically are a rich software company, so we basically can afford the thousand city creation. We can afford the thousand city creation. So from the thousand city creation, we basically pass the data so that basically the each and every software is loaded in the so in the laptop or computer that gets on. Whenever you open the Microsoft, it's getting loaded, right? Why? Because we have already passed the data from the power supply company, and we have passed our data. That is basically the assume that 4,000 cities created the entire Microsoft data products. Then basically we have already passed the 7,000 updated data to the power supply company. Each and every power supply company where the Microsoft product is basically getting loaded, where the Microsoft laptop is purchased. So basically, if anybody purchases the laptop, he is going to generate the bill basically. He is going to get the bill. In that bill, basically, he pays the tax. So by default, the company gets the address. So by default, basically, he gets the data, right? The power supply data basically he gets passed. So like this, basically, assume that there are 18 to 20 basically computer company, and they are basically they are basically getting the each and every data as per the requirement. As per the requirement, they are getting the data, right? As per the requirement, they are getting the data, and as per the data, basically the computer is getting loaded. This is basically very simple funda, right? This basically is very simple funda, right? Very simple means this basically it's a B and ME level knowledge basically you can say that if computer is getting loaded. For example, one of the BE person and ME person basically asked that basically how the .NET is getting loaded. Then the person basically who are basically in the Microsoft, they basically told that um, there are basically thousand cities. On the basis of the thousand city, basically the .NET is created. Then basically he was shocked basically. He was basically shocked that thousand city created .NET. So to create just .NET basically it has taken thousand cities. So we can just imagine the one software basically getting created, that also by Microsoft like company, then basically it's costing thousand cities, right? So whenever the basically thousand cities is passing the data to the each and every software company basically. For example, uh, assume that BMC software is there, right? BMC software in Pune, that company basically gets the data of the power supply company. They gets the power supply company data, and then basically the Microsoft operating system gets load. And whenever basically the developers opens the .NET, that time basically is getting the power supply of that thousand cities only. But it's basically not directly basically it's getting. The power company has taken already data of the 2 months before. The 2 months data are basically already passed by the Microsoft Corporation company to each and every software companies. Sorry, to the each and every power companies and nuclear power companies and the energy companies. So 2 months data is already passed. So the data is not coming directly from the thousand countries, but virtual data basically is already dumped of the thousand cities. So indirectly, basically, it's the data is coming from the thousand cities, but it's not connected directly. It's not connected directly. So like this, basically, the .NET is telling that we are basically getting loaded on the base of thousand cities. On the base of thousand cities. So you can just imagine the concept basically, which is of the subscription plan areas. Subscription plan areas. So like this, also basically few groups says that this is also there. This is also there in the city creation. This is also there basically, right? So like this, lots of things are basically there. This all basically the Bollywood industry do the are they are basically watching it, right? Each and every Bollywood industry basically are watching this, whatever things are basically getting created. They watch is how the doctors basically are working. They watch how the software industry is working. They watch basically how the software company owner basically are working. They watch basically how the each and every software companies are working. They basically watch how the power companies are working. They watch basically how the nuclear power companies are working. They watch basically how the uh, energy companies and power companies are working. So they basically watch each and everything, right? They are not that like that they are not watching. They are watching each and everything. They are watching each and everything of the cities, and according to that, basically they creates the movie. According to that, basically they creates the movie. And few people says that movie is equal to energy. Movie is equal to energy, and energy has basically created lots of area basically. For example, Andheri area got created. On the base of Andheri area, few software company basically got created. Few software companies are basically handling the virtual things basically of which basically the Andheri has created. So Andheri basically has created on the base of certain user stories. For example, one person basically got suddenly basically he got romantic. Suddenly he got romantic. Romantic means basically you can just understand. So basically he thought that basically how basically I suddenly got romantic. How suddenly I got romantic. Then basically one of the software company of the Andheri, they told that basically we basically send some energy to his body. To his body basically we have sent some certain level of energy. So that due to that basically the romantic energy basically. connected to his body. Then basically he was shocked basically. If they can basically send this type of data, then basically they can harm the body parts also, like ear, like eye, like head. But this up to this level basically power government basically never gives. But sometimes government also basically gives. That basically we have broken the lock. You can do whatever you want to do to that body. So you can just imagine basically the government, some government also basically sometime just unlock the thing basically like this basically. Government also basically sometimes say that yeah you can basically um, access his body parts, whatever body part you want to access. For example, you want to access ear, you can access. If you want to access eye, you can access. If you want to access head, you can access. Because the government says that we also basically have suffered lots of things due to this person. So you can access his body parts. So like this, basically government release the locks, release the law. Like this, you can just imagine the each and every industry basically, how the cyber industry is basically connected. So these all are basically cyber, right? These all are basically the cyber, right? If you are basically accessing any person's body parts, that means basically the government has given you the authority that you can access. And if you are basically damaging any body parts, then basically without police permission, you can't do that. So police also basically supports that group. Police says that we also basically got lots of problem from that particular person. So like this, basically the personal basically things gets into the picture in each and every departments, and that basically creates lots of problem in the future. Lots of problem in the future. That is also basically that. But few people says that my uncle basically is in with big post, and I am basically not getting the job. Then basically, what is the value of basically uncle? Why basically he is sitting at this level, big level post? There is no value, right, of that uncle. If that uncle is sitting at the big level post, if he can't help his particular own family member, then basically what is the value of sitting at the big level post? So this is also there basically. This is also there, right? And now basically we are going to see the subscription plan group. Subscription plan data basically. For example, assume that 15,000 city basically created one subscription plan for the rainy season of the India. Government basically has already sent the data of the India rainfall, that this should be the rainfall system, entire rainfall system should be like this. So according to that, basically they have sent the data. So according to that, only basically they are going to give the rain. According to that, only basically they are going to give the rain, right? Central government pass the data, and according to that, only the rain is going to fall. And central government basically passes the data to the subscription plan groups that basically take this data, and this basically you have to send the data to the rainy season. For example, one of the government basically setting in central, they told that we want this many rain in Ahmedabad city. We want this many rain in Vadodara city. Overall, basically rain. So they basically done the adjustment and they basically calculated. And then basically this was they basically was sending the each and every rain according to the data basically they have got. According to the data means the government has given this many money to fall this many rain. That's basically very simple, right? If you are paying the money, then only basically you are going to get the rain. Then only basically you are going to get the rain. One person basically told that the World Bank basically are doing up to the level plan. Basically, you can't imagine. The plan basically was like this. One of the basically person asked that how basically the subscription plan group, basically that is the World Bank, how they are doing the plan of the rainy system, of the rainy system basically. Why? Because it's very dangerous also. So one of the person basically given the answer that they basically was generating the rainy system of the India. So they told that basically they basically generates the rainy subscription data. For example, 15,000 cities is there. On the base of 15,000 cities, basically the entire world, entire Hindustan, basically entire India, basically is going to get the rain. Right? Entire India is going to get the rain. So they do the manipulation. They basically has already sent the data, and they are basically doing the manipulation in certain area. For example, assume that they have selected one city called Ahmedabad. Assume that they have selected one Ahmedabad city, and in Ahmedabad city, basically, in environment, basically, they are doing all the process of entire India rainy system. Means, for example, they are going to they are going to activate the rainy system in the Vadodara city. Then basically they are doing some manipulation in that area of the Ahmedabad. If they want to do some activate rainy system in the Mumbai city, then basically are doing some activity in that Ahmedabad area. Like this, basically the entire Ahmedabad area basically they have selected. So like this, each rainy system basically they are selecting each and every city, doing the manipulation of entire India in that city, and then basically they are sending the data to each and every city after doing the manipulation. After doing the each and every manipulation, what manipulation they do, that basically might be secret, very secret, right? That might be very secret, not very secret. It's very, very, very secret. What secret? That basically nobody can say that, because rain is equal to created from 15,000 cities. 15,000 cities, and 15,000 city basically they have sent the data long before of the rainy system, that this many rain is going to fall. They have sent data long before. So the government basically are already basically active, but the private people basically don't know, right? Because they basically don't have the data of the access. And that also basically in government department also very few people knows that in Ahmedabad city, the rainy system process is ongoing of the entire India. So the entire India is going to get the rain this much in each and every city, that is getting calculated from the Ahmedabad city. From the data which is basically sent from that 15,000 country, with the help of the satellites and with the help of the nuclear power company and the power companies and the energy company. Then basically few people say that then what the cloud is doing. Few people says that what then what the cloud system is doing. That basically is the also question basically. Then what the cloud system is basically. Few people says because the government says that this many cloud has basically activated in the city. That means 100% this many rain is going to fall. Then basically what the cloud system is basically created and what it's doing. That is also basically the question. This is also we are going to discuss that what actually the cloud system is doing. If the rain basically is falling like this, that 15,000 is sitting, sorry, 15,000 city are getting created, are getting creation of the entire rainy system basically. And Ahmedabad city is basically doing the entire process of the entire India country. Then basically, and after that basically process, when the rainy system starts, the data are basically passed from the set of groups to each and every cities. Like this, the rainy system gets worse. Then basically the question basically was what the cloud system is doing. Then what the cloud system is doing. That also basically we are going to see this one video basically. What actually the cloud system is doing. What actually the cloud system is doing. So the answer was the 15,000 city. created the season, that is basically the rainy system, rainy season, and they basically send the data of the India rainy system, which is going to fall in the each and every city, to the Ahmedabad city, and from Ahmedabad city, the entire India country rainy system, which is going to happen. That rain process basically started in India, sorry, started in Ahmedabad long before basically. That this is the rainy system which is going to activate in India. So like this basically every time basically it's not Ahmedabad. Every time it changes, there are basically more than 5 to 6 lakh city in India. So basically every time they do the manipulation because they can't pick the one city, right? Because they are doing lots of manipulation in the rainy system. Basically, it's very dangerous also. Basically, so what dangerous that also basically we are going to see what actually the dangerous thing basically happens when you are doing the process of the rainy system in any of the city. What are the side effects? What are the things going to happen in future for that city? What are the things going to happen? So like this basically here basically we have taken one example that it's Ahmedabad city where the entire Hindustan basically India's rainy system basically system is getting generated, and then basically the data or of the rain is getting sent to the each and every city. Each and every city basically gets the rain data, and they are basically getting the data of each and every city. So you can just imagine, right? You can just imagine the rain system basically. You can just imagine the rain system basically. System. So like this basically the rainy system generates, and you can just see basically how the rainy system is basically getting generated and how this rainy system is getting processed. So what type of process basically it might be doing, that is also basically one of the question. That is also because the subscription plan basically is created from the World Bank, and World Bank basically is connected with these 15,000 cities, and 15,000 to create 15,000 city also lots of expenses happened to create one city basically. 15 to 20 lakh basically is the expense, and that basically of if it's outside India country then basically it's more money, or it might be less money also, that depends upon the material basically which they are getting from this country and the government relationship with the each and every country basically from the they are getting the materials. So that are also basically different topic that comes to into barter system, that comes into the barter system basically. It's a very old system basically. It's very old system, barter system basically. Before money basically the barter system was there, right? If you want to purchase anything from one country to another country, then basically money was not there. The barter system was there. If you give me that much, then I will give you this much. Whatever object might be. Few people says that you give me that much vegetable, I will give you this much fruits. So next time basically they told that basically you give me this much fruits, I will give you this much vegetables. So like this basically this is the barter system basically you can say. Barter system basically everybody knows it's without money system basically. Without money you are doing some help to the any of the country basically you can say. So this is help basically. So like this basically lots of systems are basically created by the government, and government says that basically we basically don't create the cities, right? We just tell that this data basically we want this type of energy we want. The private construction, sorry, the private consultant groups are there basically ready-made created, and few basically consultants are created by us also. That is also there. So 15,000 basically city which was created by the certain groups. That basically it's not created by the entire government, right? It's created by the set of private companies, and lots of government groups are also there connected, because ultimately the government is going to handle the city. Private groups are not going to handle. But nowadays the rail system are basically handled by the private groups. So that type of thing. But the control is with the government only basically. But the control is always with the government part. Government never takes out the control, right? If they are spending this many 1 rupee also, that 1 rupee is also getting tracked by the government. So that type of system basically, if they have given the control to the private company, then basically they might have planned long before, right? They might have planned long before basically. I have taken one example of the pen basically. If they are purchasing one pen also, so up to the plan basically they do. So this is basically the entire railway system basically, right? So they might have done lots of plan basically. Without plan, nothing happens. So it's a project management plan industry basically comes into the picture. So there, because it's a government basically, they might have different basically management plans basically. So that is also there basically. So here basically the data is 15,000 city is the source of the rainy system which is activated in India, and the activation data is basically coming from the 15,000 cities, and is basically getting processed and has processed from Ahmedabad city, which basically the government has told that you can process the data in Ahmedabad city. Approved after getting the approval from the government of the Indian government, the subscription plan groups, that is basically the World Bank has done the process of the entire rainy system of the Hindustan, that is basically the India, from Ahmedabad city. So like this basically, this is basically the 205th number part, and in 206 basically, that is 206, we are going to discuss a little bit more about this system and many more system basically created by the government.